within your community to actually aid in the building or the liberation of your people. When we seen Black Wall Street, there was a lot of Black families in Black Wall Street, a lot of Black families going to the Black churches, aiding in the community, helping. Those were Black families. It wasn't no single motherhood or single fatherhood or divide amongst us as Nubian Melanites in this latter day. And that goes back to that sex/gender that we've been previously talking about throughout the whole of this portion. That sex/gender is very, very important for us in this latter day, because if we don't get our relationships right and our relationships correct, we'll ultimately end up, like our great BBs and Babas have taught us, back into slavery. It won't just be mental slavery, emotional slavery. We'll be back into physical slavery, where we're doing everything for them. We'll be back to doing that physical labor. So instead of doing that, it's time for us to do the work. We must get involved in your local community, get involved at children's mentoring program, get involved at aiding the homeless, to do our best to be servants of one another in this latter day. Because ultimately the family structure is to serve one another and to aid in each other becoming better.
Thank you, Brother Demarius. The family structure is very important. Okay, so next we would have Cahoon Karen Hilton. Still giving you that Rev name, eh?
I like the different array of names, and we just keep it real. We just change it up, keep it lively. Okay, so for me, it would be respectful of elders. The true Afrikaner womanist respects and appreciates elders, insisting that her young do likewise. And I feel like that's really, really important, because at the moment, you know, our elders are passing away, and you know, very important, imperative knowledge and information is not being passed to the youngers, and they're lost. Which is why they're running around the way they are at the moment, because they're not hearing, you know, young people are giving, you know, birth to young people, and they don't know what they're doing. And there's a big, massive disconnect. So we need to put the elders back in the top of the family. And so they were the structure. They were like the guide. Whenever you go wrong, it was like, okay, I can see where you're going to go. Let me guide you back out. They were, you know, you could speak to them as to what do I do here? How do I know? They were your counsel. They were, you know, they were the prominent figures in the family. So when it comes to it, the elders knew how, you know, earlier on we spoke about, or someone mentioned about the fact that, you know, those elders would be in the kitchen putting the herbs together. In fact, most of us who grew, or some of us who grew in the Caribbean, the elders would like, what's wrong with you? You got fever? Okay, go in the garden. Go over to the left, turn right, go down the hill. When you bend round, pick that leaf. When you come back, you see 2 leaves up there, pick those 2 leaves and come back. You don't know what you're picking. All you know is the elders is guiding you. And by the time you put, you know, this drink together, and your elders is putting this drink together, you're healed. You're done. You're like, I don't know what it was. You ask them now, what did great grandma give you? I don't know, but she just told me to go down there, go pick 2 leaves and come back. So at the moment, once we put those people back, and we're at a position where we need to put them back quite quickly, because that generation is slow. You know, they're on the move, and they're moving out very quickly. If we don't capture what we have left, it's gonna be a long, hard slog in order to regain that trust again for the very young ones. Do you understand? And once you lose the elders, once you lose the grandmothers, the grandfathers, once you lose that disconnects, once that door is open and the young ones have gone, you know, our family unit is just going to be a memory. And that's what we don't need right now. We need to make sure that what we had, because that was our success, that was the family success. Those elders made sure everything. They made sure you had manners. They made sure you had discipline. They made sure you dressed right. They made sure you had food. They made sure they took their roles and responsibilities seriously. Right now, you try to tell a young one about their roles and responsibilities, they'll tell you everything else about yourself. Do you understand? And it's like, well, and you know, and that's where the disconnect comes in. because it was like, well, I don't want to make your head spin, but at the same time, look, do you understand? So we really, really, even for us, we have children. We have to make sure that, we bring that back alive again, because without that, man, it's gone. And we can't afford to have that right now, which is why we're in this situation talking about missing and over sexualizing. We can't afford to do that. They can afford to do that because them crazy white people, they just been crazy from day dot. Do you understand? The mind of the what? We say the mind of the what? The psychopath. We ain't got time to be like them. Do you understand? That's why when your children want to behave like them and come home, you say, listen, leave that at the door. When you come to the store, you don't bring that with you. You understand?
Yeah.
You leave that there because they ain't going to get what you're going to get. And I always tell my children that. The discipline that I'm going to give you for behaving like them, they ain't going to get that. And I know you don't want that. So don't bring that in here. Leave that outside. In fact, don't even let me catch you behaving like that. Because, and that's another thing, growing up, and some of you may have experienced it in America, I'm not sure, but in the Caribbean, if you went out and misbehaved, and the neighbor saw you or auntie so-and-so saw you, well, that's double beatings. Yeah. And then you're going to get beat again because you got beat in the first place. So you were putting, discipline. We need to put the elders back in their place because they are the forefront. They are the guides. They're the forewarners. They're the ones who's going to take us ultimately where it would need to be. They're the steel on the top. That's right.
Thank you. Okay, so we are gonna have our last commercial and our panelists will come back and give us marching orders from there. We'll be back.
Now looking back, I know and I appreciate now that when you grow up in a colonial system or in whichever system you grow up, people who design that system design in such a way that they will produce a certain kind of people because they give them a certain kind of information, they expose them to a certain kind of information, and they keep certain kind of information away from them. So you grow up with a certain attitude. You are shaped. Your mind, your attitude, your values are shaped. Your world is shaped. And you are deliberately discouraged to appreciate anything about you because you are not supposed to know or to imagine there was anything good in your pre-British experience. So your people in the pre-British era were primitive, they were backward, they didn't know anything, they did not even know anything about God. Now you know about God, you know about Jesus, you're saying the rosary. Remember, I was saying the rosary. All these things are packaged in such a way that you look at the British and you admire them greatly.
The entire strength of this colonial system, none of them is above nature. When we look at these groups, we are looking at what they are advertising